think we are. Good evening and welcome to the school committee meeting of February 26, 2025.
Lost track of time.
We were being bad. We were talking when we shouldn't.
February 26, 2025, members of the public may listen and watch the school committee meeting via live stream at www.sandwichtv.org and the Sandwich Community TV Education Channel 8. We will begin our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And next item is our first public forum of the evening. Does anybody wish to be heard? I do not see anybody rushing to the microphone. So we will move on to the next item. We have several donations to approve and accept tonight. So, Dr. Joe?
So once again, we have terrific donations for next month's wellness fair that'll be held on the 13th of March at Sandwich Middle High School. The first one is from the Nicholas Zaros Memorial Foundation. It is a platinum level scholarship of $1,000.
I move that we accept the donation from the Nicholas Zaros Memorial Foundation with appreciation.
Any discussion? All in favor of accepting the donation, say aye.
Aye.
We are unanimous at 5-0. Next item is Cape Cod Pediatrics.
Sure, it's a donation for $500, also for platinum level sponsorship of the wellness fair from Cape Cod Pediatrics of Forestdale.
I move that we accept the donation from Cape Cod Pediatrics for the SPS Wellness Committee with appreciation.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0 with appreciation. And the final one?
It's from our friends from the Rotary Club of Bourne and Sandwich, a donation of $200 for sponsorship of the wellness fair.
I want to make a comment. The Rotary Club in Yarmouth made a huge difference in my daughter's life. Sent her overseas as an exchange student, and I'm forever thankful to the Rotary Club, and I'm very glad to see this donation. Thank you.
So where do we leave off?
I move that we accept the donation of the Rotary Club of Bourne and Sandwich to the SPS Well Committee with appreciation.
Any discussion? All in favor? Say
Aye.
Aye. That is unanimous, and thanks. This is going to be a spectacular wellness fair.
Sure, wonderful sponsors.
Community effort.
Absolutely.
Awesome, can't wait. All right, next item, student representative report. No, I don't see. Well, we can revisit if the person arrives. Review and act on the meeting minutes of the regular business meeting of February 12th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes as for the regular business meeting dated 02 February 12th, 2025, as presented.
Any discussion?
There's one grammatical error that I think Lisa's already corrected. I spelled my name wrong at the very end, but nothing of substance.
All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you. Let's see. Correspondence and announcements. I don't have any.
I just have one.
Yep.
Registration is now open for the adaptive choral group called the Singing Sailors. It's run by the Sandwich Rec Department, and it's directed by Sandwich alum Katie McAuliffe. So all are welcome to join. You just go to sandwichrec.com to register. Rehearsals will be beginning Sunday, March 30th from 2 until 4, every Sunday except Easter until May 4th. And the performance will be held on Friday, May 9th at night right here on the stage at Town Hall. So sandwichrec.com.
And if you've ever attended any of their events, they are just fantastic. The enthusiasm and the passion by the young people is amazing. So it's great. Superintendent's update.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Just a couple quick items. Today marked the second full session, half-day session of our full strategic planning team. In my humble opinion, it was a very successful, energized session where a lot of brainstorming was done around common themes that we're seeing in last month's visioning protocol as far as how we envision our district to be in 2030. But I believe I put a link to it. I also had the opportunity to present quite a bit of data, performance data, demographic data, attendance, enrollment, so on, about our district. Much of which you've seen before here at the table during school committee meetings. But thinking that, that's really, really important to kind of inform some of our strategic directions. The second piece, as I know you are all cognizant, we've started in earnest with starting the focus groups. I think we've done a grand total of 4 of them online this week. I know a lot of you have had the opportunity to join the Google Meet. We've got one coming up on Friday morning with the Chamber of Commerce. We had the opportunity, I think Dr. Miller is the champ when it comes to attendance at these. She also had the opportunity the Friday before break to kind of attend an in-person one with a team of about 13, 14 students at the middle high school. So I would invite, if you haven't had an opportunity, to kind of check out the AI summaries. They're pretty accurate as far as capturing the main points. I will share with you a folder of kind of all the summaries of all the focal groups and kind of put them together. But again, I think this is some great feedback that we're getting, both quantitative and qualitative.
And I asked Dr. Joe last night if for the parental type of group, was it an open invitation versus specific outreach? And he, in fact, did say open outreach. While the small number of participants was disappointing to me, it did make for a very intimate conversation.
Absolutely.
And I think people were very candid, and their responses were heartfelt. So those of you that are out there, and if you have the opportunity and you have an hour to spare, we would really appreciate the input.
And I'll just comment as well that there were common themes from it as well. Even though it was a small number, there were recurring themes from it, which I think was valuable and kind of validates probably where we should be looking. And of course, people can reach out to us or you anytime. So.
And then the second piece, as we do, I'm
You didn't see me, that's all. Was there an Oak Ridge focus group?
There was. It was last evening at 6 o'clock.
Okay, because what you put in here was very good, but, I appreciate it. So the Oak Ridge one will be coming out soon.
Sure, yeah. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put together a folder that'll have every single one. I just wanted you to get a snapshot of.
And it was a good snapshot.
Yeah. And then, as we do every month, Michelle has an update as far as where we are in the FY25 operational budget.
The January report in front of you. A couple of things that are a little different than usual. As you can tell, you see the additional appropriation of the Chapter 70 money that has been applied to contracted services in our facility department. You also see that we now have $600,000 applied to the budget from circuit breaker. Utilities are doing well. Otherwise, the budget's doing really well this year. Any questions?
What is proving to be interesting and prudent is our negotiations with the teachers union for an $80,000 cap on graduate tuitions is proving to be prudent.
Yeah.
Okay, old business, changes to the Sandwich Middle High School program of studies.
So I believe during the last meeting, we covered what the changes were. I think the desire was to see these changes actually rolled into the program of studies, and that's what Jeannie has done. As I say in the background notes, one proposed change that actually got considerable conversation was the whole change around a waiver proposal for physical education. And if you want to talk a little bit about that, your conversation with Joe Emerson.
Sure. So we did some research with surrounding schools and to see what they do for PE and if they have PE waivers. And we were able to identify one high school in Massachusetts that allows a PE waiver for athletic participation in grades 11 and 12 for very clear participation like MIAA, interscholastic programs, or clubs with very specific hours of participation. However, we prepared a waiver and an idea, and we ran it by our school attorney, who advised us not to do that, that the law for Massachusetts, Chapter 71, Section 3, I think, explicitly states that students must participate in PE during all 4 high school years. So while the language in the one school that we could find, public school, obviously private, parochial, independent schools can do exactly what they would like to do, we are bound by that law. So
According to Joe Emerson.
correct.
But if this one school gave their kids a break on this, why not us?
Honestly, I would not want to be that
You wouldn't be
risky.
first.
I would not necessarily. However, he did advise us against it, and I do respect his experience and judgment. We do allow for waivers for religious reasons and medical reasons, as we always have, which is perfectly appropriate. The other part to the Massachusetts law is that PE can be satisfied through other courses, for example, which we do offer: fitness, strength and conditioning, lifeguarding, water safety instructor. So we do have a wide array of classes that kind of alternatives to just the traditional PE.
Can I ask a question? I know when the students were here, it was sounding like one of their concerns was not having space in their schedules for classes that they might enjoy or have interest in. Are there any other ways to address
yeah.
that need?
I think we're really being intentional with our programming through the pathways by establishing clear pathways for kids and families to see, like grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, and opening that up. Our shift in our proposal to move the freshman seminar down into the middle school, like maintaining the senior mentorship, which the seniors love, and it's a really, really successful program, but having the recipients of that program be 7th graders instead of 9th graders, that's going to open up for the entire 9th grade opportunities for those kind of to move more in what they're passionate about, because that's what we want.
When you said you looked at other school, how many other schools did you pull? I'm just kind of curious because.
So I worked with the director of guidance, who belongs to the South Shore League of Counselors, and she reached out to every single one of her contacts. So the entire South Shore, Cape and the Islands, and
Okay.
the one school we found was not
Because when we were at the legislative breakfast, there was another school that said that they had a waiver, but maybe they misspoke.
Yeah, I don't recall that.
It was DY, not that I'm naming them. Okay.
On page 12, talks about repeating a course, and then the section that was deleted. Could you just explain exactly what was deleted and the rationale for it? It had to do with delete the bullets around no extra credit, et cetera. But then there's another piece that seems to talk about, and then repeating, must achieve a grade of C or better. Those were the two bullets. So just, if you could explain that and what the rationale was.
So the rationale for that was not to limit students, to essentially be explicitly clear that if a student must take a summer school program or an online program for credit recovery due to an unsuccessful performance in the academic year, that they must repeat that course for credit. The language that was in there prior, we thought as a group was confusing. To say like to maintain a C or to get a C in that, ideally they're going to have to pass that credit recovery course.
So the D is really all that's necessary to pass a course, correct?
To pass that course.
Why have a different standard for
It would-
repeating a course?
Both on the transcript, the failure will exist,
Right.
but the credit recovery counts, which we will accept,
Okay.
right? So that
Does
was,
the grade count or just the credit that the
So-
course has been completed?
per our handbook, 60 and above is passing.
Okay, that's fine. I just didn't understand.
Right, and I think that that's why we decided to eliminate it, because it was confusing.
Any other questions or comments on the changes?
My only one was, I know we're going to revisit GPA later this spring. I believe it's both here in the program of studies and in the handbook. Do we want to continue to keep it in both?
We removed it from the program of studies. We reference it, grade point average, as a weighted GPA. However, we don't have the scale in the current program of studies for that reason, because we'd like to propose any changes when we come with the handbook changes,
Okay.
if that makes sense. There were additions, just last-minute additions added. There was a new elective in the computer sciences and artificial intelligence elective that will discuss the ethics, applications, and challenges of artificial intelligence. I have that. I can send that to you. That's an addition. And a name change for digital tools in the real world will now be digital tools for career readiness. And finally, robotics is going to become AI and robotics. They're going to add that AI element to the robotics.
And I don't know if it's occurred to us at any other point, but many schools are moving away from the freshman, sophomore, et cetera, and going to first year, second year, third year, fourth year. More inclusive language, I don't,
Right. That's great. If that's a recommendation, we're happy to move forward with that.
any other comments?
I have no issue, personally, I have no issue with the traditional names, but that's just me. Maybe I'm just old school.
I just had one. In the life skills program, we're going to change it to practical life skills with transitional services now. I think right now it says life skills.
It does,
Okay.
yeah. And that came from BJ McNamara, who worked really closely with our Director of Special Education to kind of review the inclusivity of the language.
Yeah, yeah. He explained it really well last night at CPAC. So
Great.
it was great. Thank you.
If we have no further questions, can we have a motion to approve the program of studies as revised?
I move that we approve the Sandwich Middle High School Program of Studies as presented.
Any further discussion?
I think I said it last meeting, I think I don't know whose idea it was, but the idea of connecting the seventh graders who are in the same building, I know, realize an age gap, but taking the freshman seminar and making the seventh grade connector, I think that's fantastic. So, if you want to take credit, awesome. If you want to pass that credit on to whoever came up with the idea, that's awesome too. So, I love it.
All right, all those in favor of the changes in the program of studies, please say aye.
Aye.
500.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Our student rep is here, if you want to jump back to number 5.
Okay, good. All right, let me just see what's next here. If our student is here, our student, hi
Hi,
there.
Shreya.
Come on down.
Are
We
you
miss you.
ready? Dad's, so are you okay to?
You okay?
present? Okay, all right. Well, welcome. We're flexible. Take a breath. You're on.
Okay. Hello. Okay. I still want to say I'm sorry though because I should have been more on time, but I'm here now. So
Life happens.
okay. I'll start off with the student representative report for Forestdale first. I feel like it's been so long since I've been sitting in this chair, so it might be a little bit longer, but I'll try to go quicker. So first with Forestdale, in the library, they've been playing matching games, which is basically like memorization games, like for the categories that are in the library. So they know where the fantasy or science fiction sections are, which I know is very helpful because I remember being so young and having a ginormous library, even though now when I look at it, I'm like, oh, okay. But when you're young, it's huge, and it would be great to know where all the sections are. So I think it's great that they've been working on that during their time in the library. The first graders have recently become writers, so everyone get ready to get your books autographed by them because you're gonna need to. They've been researching an animal, and then they've been writing a nonfiction story about them, and their family or friends or even other students in the building have been coming in and celebrating them and basically just applauding the future Shakespeares of our century. So that's very exciting. And recently they also celebrated 100 days of school, and there's been so much creativity in all of these projects. There's been popsicles or stickers or 100 eyes on their shirts. And I remember that it's 10 times better than what I did. I brought in 100 pennies, also known as $1, and I said, yep, this is my creativity. Don't ever do that. I would say work on the project. I also told my parents the night before, which was not a good idea either. But it's okay. And then we also had sledding during recess. So there was a lot of students who were, they had sleighs and they could use them, and they lived out all of their winter wonderland dreams. So that's what's been happening at Forestdale recently, which is so amazing. And then for Oak Ridge, they've been doing a lot of community service. One of them was the Oak Ridge Coin Challenge, which was early on in January, but they were using it to raise funds for the California wildfires, and they raised over, I think, $4,000, which is amazing. And it was coin wars between the grades, and the winner was 4th grade, so congratulations to them. And then they've also had a kindness week, so they've had spirit days for each, for Monday, Tuesday, and they've had a checklist, which they would have actions that they would complete for kindness, and it was great because it encourages them to kind of have it as a little bit of a game, and without realizing it, they're doing something for the greater good. And then they also had a kindness tunnel to add on to that, which was when everyone from the community would come and they would walk through this tunnel, and the students were very it makes them feel very important because they feel heard. And I remember when I was walking through the tunnel, seeing all of either the superintendent or a police officer, it just makes you feel a little bit more connected. So they've been doing so many amazing things. In one of their classes, have you guys ever watched the show Chopped? Like where they given like a bunch of mystery ingredients and they just have to make something. They did that but with art supplies. And I think that's so cool because as like a little kid, you were just like you have so many ways of expressing your creativity, but also connecting it to real life. And I feel like they would feel a little bit more motivated to do it. And then they also put on a Wizard of Oz production, which had, I think, over 40 students by the drama club. And if you guys have seen the costumes, they look absolutely amazing. So these are some future Broadway stars that we have in that production. And they've also created Night News, which is, so I'm sorry, but all the school newspapers are going to have to go because our primary source will have to be Night News from now. It's made by the 6th graders, and it's made by Miss Gould's class, and it just has updates. So instead of everything else that we use, we're going to have to solely use that. And then they also had the Math Super Bowl, which was great. They fully recreated the entire experience with the national anthem and the halftime show and everything. So it was great that they are encouraging like expanding their mathematical knowledge as well. And then similar to high school, they had underground staff spirit week. So the teachers would dress up without telling the students, and they had like different like anything but a cup, and the students would have to guess what the teachers were dressing up as, which I think is really interesting because it makes them like think a little bit harder. And then for high school, we've had a lot since during midterms, but something I wanted to highlight was the mental health advocacy project. They created mints and Smarties, and they were like passing them out for like those taking midterms, so that it was like a little bit of an encouragement. They would also have tips and tricks as to how to study, which was great. Playbook had our 2 workshops with Hanover, and they were very successful, which was great. They came here, we went there, and we're extremely grateful for such like an amazing team over at Hanover as well, and all the support we got. Speaking of Project 351, we also have our new ambassador, Macy Christensen, and she has been so amazing, and she's been so curious throughout the entire process. She actually came to one of our workshops as well and watched them. And then in 8th grade, they've been creating cars. Not that they're driving real life cars, because I don't know if they would be any better than the people in the student parking lot, but they have creating like cars out of minimal materials, and they have to figure out like how to move them. And I remember thinking this was, I think, the hardest project ever. I wish that idea stayed in my mind, but it's okay. And then they've also been having a Guess the Teacher section on social media, which they'll have like 3 facts about a certain teacher or something. And then what they'll do is that they'll have it for the week, and then at the end of the week, they'll present or like show who the teacher was. So it's like students can like get to know their teachers a little bit more. And then huge congratulations to the Math Counts team as they competed at the regional competition, and they brought home lots of awards. And then AP Psychology students were guided through the building, which was blindfolded, which was really cool. And a lot of them, I like was talking to them, a lot of them said that they realized they like knew the building more than they realized they did. Like they could just walk around blindfolded. And that was like something about psychology. I wasn't listening to that part though. And then in 7th grade, they've been learning a lot about different cultures, such as Korea, and they're doing a research project at the moment. And I think that that's great that they're learning about like worldwide cultures as well. And similar to Oak Ridge, we also had an underground spirit week, and everyone's favorite was, I think, the Zoom fit, but I think my favorite was the Spies, because it looked like they all had like a secret mission that they were going on. And I remember guessing like what the theme was for the day. It was very interesting. And lastly, all the classrooms in the middle school competed in a door competition, and the theme was a favorite movie. So even if you hadn't like watched one of the movies, you would think that you did because of how detailed they were. So it was very creative. So that's what's been happening at our 3 schools. Do you guys have any questions?
Thank you very much. As always, a very comprehensive and engaging report.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry.
Next time, coordinate with me, Shreya, because I think I have a lot of pictures of a lot of those things, particularly
Oh,
things like the math Super Bowl and the kindness tunnel and all that good stuff that you reported on. But all great stuff.
perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll go back to old business, and under that, other topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair. I don't have any. And we'll move to new business, mid-cycle district improvement plan review.
So it's kind of interesting. At today's strategic planning meeting, our advisor, Dr. Ruth Whitner, was talking about the importance of having annual action plans that are related to your overall strategic plan, and kind of the piece around constantly revisiting them, and not just having a plan that you just like, yep, we got it done and put it up on a shelf, but it's something that's dynamic. And I think it speaks well for our district and also this committee that we have built into the calendar at roughly the midpoint of the school year, kind of a check-in. So the intent of myself and Dave tonight is just to kind of, in a concise fashion, look at the district action plan, which in my humble opinion is a pretty ambitious one, and where we are with regard to the action plan steps. Now, keep in mind, we're not going to go over everything, just kind of a big picture view. And again, it was really 5 focal areas. First one being engaged learning. What are we doing to make learning more engaging for all of our students across the grade levels? And how does that tie in with a aligned curriculum? Inclusive practices. Optimal learning environment kind of speaks to rethinking learning space, but also some specific steps around safety. Customer service and communication really was an area for what are we doing to improve communication, but also the visioning piece around the strategic plan. And then sustainability really talked about kind of the finance piece, and specifically some of the planning with regard to capital and reinvesting in our facilities. So the first area is engaged learning, and Dave will give some of those highlights.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Marustrek. I first want to just say that we are speaking on behalf of the principals, Trish, Chris, Jeannie, assistant principals, department heads, coaches, teachers who are doing this work. So I want to share, like, this is a reflection of the hard work that's going on by a lot of people, and we're just kind of the communicators of this. So in terms of engaged learning, we've made significant progress with our curriculum implementation in year 2 of both our ARC and iReady. Ongoing PDs being provided. We're at a really good pace. It's an area of comfort. We're also helping to supplement the phonemic awareness and phonics needs through the UFly resource that we're providing to our elementary schools. So really good progress in those areas. Professional development, particularly around deeper learning, is well underway. We completed the kind of an introductory session in October, in addition to the one that we had in the summertime. Teachers are meeting on a monthly basis to review their curriculum, collaborate with one another, and review to make learning more authentic and more student-centered. So it's really exciting. We're continuing to improve our data-driven monitoring, providing teachers with PD around the new ALEX monitoring system for our 7 and 8 math curriculum, and iReady for our K through 8 ELA educators, 3 through 8 educators. Also coming up with that plan for how frequently they're using those platforms, and then they even had PD today on ALEX on how to leverage that data to drive instruction, particularly as we're heading into testing season. And then just in terms of like next steps, we're still in the thick of the Innovation Career Pathways implementation process. We've been moved on to the Part B. We were just informed we received an additional $35,000 grant that we're eligible for that planning for our biomedical and business. And then we'll also have our Deeper Learning Showcase that we're prepping for in June that so many of you were kind enough to attend. So we want to make sure that the learning or the transitions that we're making are public and accessible to families in the community at large. And then in terms of inclusive practices, we've made some headway in terms of providing a co-teaching two-day institute with Sonia Kunkel. We had representatives from across all 3 buildings there to have an intensive 2-day training. It's a training that usually takes 5 days. And we're still working on plans to how do we scale this out for all of our educators. We've also identified an additional PD provider for our inclusive practices using Vector as a way to give enhanced support for teachers who serve students with special needs or paraprofessionals, but now it's a matter of like, how do we roll this out within the context of our Wednesdays? Culturally responsive teaching PD is well underway. We had the PD on the 17th, and then buildings will be taking programs they developed with our consultant, Karen White, to their faculty in March and April, and then once again in May to talk a little bit more about what does culture responsive practice look like on a day-to-day. The bullying and prevention plan updates and school climate work has just launched. We had an initial meeting of our building leaders to review existing policies to make sure that they're consistent across the board. And so that will be ongoing work that we'll submit out to the committee and the public just for continual feedback. And then we just want to make sure that we are continuing to finalize our expectations about what does co-teaching look like, how do we define specially designed instruction, so that way as we onboard new staff members, they have a shared vision of existing staff and they can hit the ground running once they begin to serve our students.
So our third focal area, again, we had it under kind of a larger umbrella around optimal learning environment to kind of have the ongoing work with regard to safety. I think having the second school resource officer has been valuable. I do think some of the collaboration and communication definitely has improved, particularly at the elementary level. I don't mean to single anybody out, but Heather Huska has been very responsive. I had the opportunity, matter of fact, yesterday to connect with her during a student support team meeting, and seeing that valuable connection between the home, what was happening in the home, and some of the situations at Forestdale was wonderful. Our Director of Technology, Bryce Harper, has been really, really busy, really with 2 pieces. We've talked here at the table, unfortunately, about the PowerSchool data breach. This whole cybersecurity piece is huge. And Bryce has been, per one of the action plan steps, has been having both large group and small group meetings with staffs at all 3 schools about basic cybersecurity protocols that all staff members have to be cognizant of. With the whole safety team piece, I think one of the pieces that we're looking at are various applications that are kind of next level as far as notification in the event that there is some type of intruder or some type of crisis. For example, communications, now that all of our classrooms have smart boards, things that are done through there that also integrate with internal communications, but also outside to dispatch. There's a lot of tools that we're investigating that we're looking to bring forward. So that's a key step. We should be at the next district safety team kind of reporting what a small level pilot would look like in testing out some of that equipment. And again, we're planning on the spring of doing some fairly large-scale drills, kind of taking it next level from what we did last year. Fourth, we have is the overall theme around communication and community engagement. So really, the success, I think, has been, as we talked about before, putting together a comprehensive strategic planning team. Again, we have 38 people on that team. It's quite large. I'm told not in recent memory have we had a comprehensive process using multiple measures of data. One of the steps kind of talks about using that Panorama Ed survey, not only with our students, but it's our intent to also survey something concise to our parents and also to our staff members, particularly around climate and culture. I know I've put this on my own goals, and we do have so much data. I do want, by the conclusion of this school year, to publish a district annual report that encompasses all of that data and kind of gives a good snapshot in time of how we're doing and celebrating our successes to the wider community. Because again, as I've quoted several times, only 37% of homeowners in Sandwich have children in the Sandwich Public Schools. So we've got a large swath of the community that may not be cognizant of what we're doing, what our priorities are, and our kids' success.
I know that's probably lower than average. Do you have any
A little
swag?
lower. When I was in my previous district in the two communities, it was low 50s.
Okay, well, significant difference.
Yeah. And then last but not least, the sustainability and facilities, the capital projects. We still have some work to do. However, work being done as some of the identified smaller projects, such as the resurfacing and kind of the rehabbing of the multipurpose rooms at Forestdale and Oak Ridge have been completed. One of the last major projects from the debt exclusion, as far as the HVAC, is targeted for this coming summer. Really, the bottom line is kind of the work that we discussed at the Tri-Board in having kind of a comprehensive study done, not only of our school buildings, but also the townside buildings, and kind of coming up with a larger game plan to have funding. And then really the next steps we've got coming up in the next week and a half or 2 weeks, both our capital planning committee and then also the finance committee that will hear and vote upon some of the more short-term capital improvement projects for FY26, which is actually the next item. So that's a concise summary. You know, again, that's not all the action plan steps, but as far as the path forward, Dave?
So again, it's just from a teaching and learning standpoint, so continuing the momentum that we've had with our curriculum implementation while looking towards the horizon to find out avenues for further alignment. And, you know, I think one of the areas of focus that we want to put forward is just on that inclusive practices piece. We've got to continue to work on that in conjunction with co-teaching. Looking at some of our delayed initiatives, so just looking at classroom design and communication strategies, those are long-term horizon pieces. And sometimes they're a little bit slower to move, but just again, making sure that we have those on our at the forefront. Again, this is work that you've all been doing, but securing funding for capital projects and safety improvements just kind of continue to be a priority area, ensuring that they, you know, get installed and within a timely fashion, and just making sure that that's continuing to move. And then again, that ongoing continuous improvement, Joe, the maintaining of family and community engagement efforts, not just doing the outreach, but as we were talking about in our strategic planning, continuing to outreach in a way that's digestible to families, so that way they are getting the information we want them to have, and that matches the effort that's going into it.
On the
Do you have any questions or questions for us?
Kevin
Yes, I do.
started to speak.
Yes.
that slide just.
Third place for the 50-somethings.
No, the going back to the communication, like we have the Blue Light highlights, we have the Castle Chronicles. Do you get a sense of how many people actually hit that link? every
Oh,
week?
So I can tell you from Blue Night Highlights, we mail it out to 5,800 email addresses. A typical week for me is anywhere between 3,500 to 4,000 opens.
And that's open to anyone in the community can subscribe to that, correct?
Yeah, so what I do, I don't do it every week, but a lot of times I post it on the district website. There's times that I've posted it both on Sandwich Scoop and Sandwich News. And I'm probably overdue to do not only post it, but say, hey, if you want it delivered directly to your email box, please click on this link and we can do that.
Maybe even in the Center for Active Living in their newsletter,
Yes.
put a little two-liner, like join
Yes.
subscribe to our weekly email.
Yep.
I had a question about the with the bullying and prevention and intervention. Have you had any more correspondence from the MARC from Bridgewater State, that Mass Aggression Reduction Center? They offered free services.
So I don't know if I texted you or
Yes,
forwarded
yes.
the email. We got a response from them
Yeah, months.
literally something like 6 or 7 months after the solicitation, but no, I have not heard from them then.
Okay.
I probably will reach out,
would,
and I think it came up last night at the CPAC meeting. BJ will be spearheading a committee, which I will also be involved in, and it's our goal to bring before this committee an update of our bullying prevention plan.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a free service through the, so I would follow up with them again.
Yeah.
Whatever they can offer us
Absolutely.
can't hurt.
Yeah.
And just zeroing back to the school resource officer that made mention of the revision to the MOU with the SPD.
So, so we need to do that because we have not had a MOU in place since, well, we do have an MOU in place, but it's supposed to be updated on an annual basis. And the last time myself and Chief signed off on it was May of '23. So we're overdue, and I think now having 2 SROs and kind of, nothing over the top, but getting a little more granular about roles and responsibilities and communications and so on is important.
Anything else? Thank you for this comprehensive report, and it's good to have these check-ins.
Just lastly, I wanted to recognize both BJ McNamara and Jen Kirk, who played an instrumental role in providing this update as well. We have a great team here in Sandwich. Thanks.
Can I
Thanks for not going through all 19 pages.
can I give a confession here? And and Dave is my partner in crime in this. Was this an okay presentation? And if it wasn't, I'll ask.
Is this
Ms.
AI?
Huh?
Is this AI driven?
Did
First time in my life, 58 years. Dave fed this into Chat GPT. This is what came out. I put in the pretty pictures, of course, especially the good-looking guy on the right side. I am not.
It was decent.
It's not bad. Like, I obsess on this. This took 20 minutes, guys. Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway.
It's kind of a work smarter, not harder
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the full report is available on the agenda packet, which is linked to the
Correct.
agenda, that if anybody wants to go through it all, they certainly can.
No, that's hunt and peck on your laptop.
That was good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. Capital requests for FY '26.
Okay, so I put in the background notes what we are tentatively looking at, and I thought it would be important to have a discussion. Some of these items we do have some estimates on. If you've been following the town budget, things are a little bit tighter. I think they're managing things very well and they're figuring this out. But tentatively, we're looking at approximately $600,000 in capital. And tentatively, it was going to be about $450,000 in articles, and then the typical $150,000 for building maintenance and repairs. One of the things, and again, in looking at the overarching piece around school safety, the thought was, per our capital plan, our 10-year capital plan, which I believe I also linked, is to kind of do phase 2 of our security camera upgrades, and then also to commence with the operation that we're looking at, which essentially has been completed at Forestdale, and we're looking later this spring at Oak Ridge of redoing the locks. We very, very recently got the estimate at $471,899. So you're talking almost $500,000 for that building. I've detailed here other things that I think are important that probably aren't a surprise to you. I know we've had looming out there, at least since the start of my tenure in 2022, the conversion of that Forestdale band room space to the Sandwich Partnership space, so that it would be space for not only Lauren Galvano and her assistant, but also to have programming for young parents, for toddlers, and so on, the good work that they do. I had a conversation, and I think I've had an ongoing conversation with Danielle about the condition of the tennis courts. I think, Danielle, you did a little research with our former athletic director, Neil Murphy, and the last time that they were resurfaced was 2018. And
the average lifespan is about 5 to 8 years if you resurface.
Yeah.
And back then, they proposed, completely new tennis courts, and it got rejected. And now, so they resurfaced everything. But yeah, 5 to 8 years, it's taken a beating.
yeah,
And it's a tremendous safety hazard. One of the tennis courts isn't even they're not able to have any matches. They do some exhibition matches on it, but it's a risk. It's a broken ankle waiting to happen.
and so realize, I captured a handful of pictures. There's a total 6 courts. It's 3 and 3. Every single one of the courts has cracks like this, okay? There's one that students cannot use at all because it's not only a crack, but it's a fairly significant divot.
To the extent that I listened to a coach from another team last year, they were there for a match, a visiting team, saying, I don't think this is safe. If something isn't done about this, I don't think we want to come back and play here. So we want to showcase our schools. I mean, this is, even the grounds around it, Chris and I have walked it and toured it. There's work to be done. That some of it is not so extensive, and the tennis courts really, really need attention.
Is that 81,000? What's the confidence that that's the right number to?
Chris, can you come up, please?
Do we have some quotes?
It sounds like minor mitigation at 81,000.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi. So 81,000 won't put a dent in that. The basketball court was $130,000 to do that. So this is 3 times bigger than that, and we would have to completely redo this tennis court, take it down. And not just the tennis court, but the area around it. It needs new fencing. It needs new lighting. The stairs in that area around there, that's deplorable. That needs to be all upgraded to get over to there should be some sort of walkway to get over to the softball fields rather than a gravel road. For an ADA compliance, we should bring that up to speed anyways, because someone's going to call us out on that eventually. So that whole area needs to be completely redone. So if you take what we paid for to do the basketball court at 130, you're looking probably at least double that for that. So I'm meeting sports court out there next week to go over and see if we can actually use a sport court like we did at the basketball court to do that also. It's an MIAA thing to see if they can actually play on that sort of surface. I think they can. I've seen it happen. I know there's a lot of courts around the country that are using that new style of tiles.
Any idea how much that costs? And is that even more than resurfacing?
You're not going to resurface that. You have to take that down because that's what happened is they resurfaced that and is an irrigation problem too. So the water sat in there and it freezes and thaws and that's what you get. And when they did it back in 2018, they just put seam tape over it, which is like if you ever do drywall, you get spackle, you put the seam tape in and then you go over it and then they just painted it. Well, that's really only a 5-year fix.
So the last time major work was done on, and maybe I'm really speaking out of turn, but it's I can't even remember what year, but it was in cooperation with the town when they were doing major parking lot work. They were able to throw the tennis court in there.
Yeah.
And so now we've got tennis courts, baseball field, baseball lighting, the turf at the lack of a snack shack to help offset some revenue issues for the teams.
Yeah. Yes,
It
there's
seems to me we need to look at the program in totality.
correct. Yes, we need to look at the big picture long term. There's a lot. Again, we just took down all those poles.
Yeah.
We need to put something back up. Do you want to play games at night? I think baseball games at night are a great thing. Kids would love that. You'd get people from everywhere wanting to watch baseball games. Maybe we can get a Cape Cod League to come in and also utilize the fields and get some money back into facilities usage to pay for these upgrades. So yeah, we have to look at the bigger picture of that whole entire area. Because it's right off the highway. It's a great point. It's a great thing for the kids to do and have over there. As you can see with the basketball court that we just put in, they're there all the time, and it's great. It's great to see the kids out there. The softball field needs to be upgraded. I mean, we have the bleachers on the baseball field are at a 30-degree angle. Those all need to be repaired. Underneath that, the field, the irrigation needs to be repaired. It's been reactive maintenance and deferred maintenance for way too long over there, and we're at that point now where we can't maintain it. We have to actually scrap it and start over.
So when are you meeting? Next week, you said?
Yeah, I'm going to meet him out there next week.
Okay.
Want me to let you know?
Yeah,
Because, I mean, when you think about a tennis court, too, it's not just the court. It's all the netting, it's all the poles. Like I said, redo that fencing, get rid of that fencing, have a better, have seating. There's no seating there to watch tennis. There's a little bench. There should be some sort of stadium seating over there. And then does it incorporate into the softball field because it's right there.
Yeah, like I said, we're trying to showcase our schools, and I mean, the interest in tennis in itself. I know in the girls' program last year, I think there were over 40 kids that wanted to play tennis. So there's an interest, there's a need for it, and they should be able to play in a safe facility.
Yeah.
And my concern is, I think, Sue, your point is totally on point as far as the big picture. But in looking at all of those athletic facilities in a comprehensive manner, time is not on our side. And yes, do I think that there has to be a larger campaign that deals with these athletic facilities, but also other pieces of need, i.e. the science labs at the high school and so on? Absolutely. But I also want to proactively have a quick win for our school district, for our kids, for this community. Think about where we were when we opened the school year, and again, it was relatively low-hanging fruit, but we were able, to Chris's point, provide that new basketball court, at the high school, but also the one that was hanging out there at Oak Ridge for so long.
Right.
My feeling would be this, that we look at multiple options or getting this done sooner or later for FY '26.
We can definitely phase it.
And again, your point is well taken as far as the other needs, as far as the path and so on. But my concern is our kids should not have to play tennis on courts that look like that, nor I'm sure they also get community usage. There's been many times where I do see the lights on at night. I think that and DeCanto are only nighttime lights, and we have adults in the community playing on that. I think we can do better than that.
Yeah,
It's interesting, though, just as an observer, the shift in interest from tennis to pickleball. Major movers of tennis court renovations in the past
Yep.
has been our adult population, heavy tennis players. They advocated as much as our parents
I
did.
think the last time I talked to Danielle, I said, how many kids do we have? Can I throw in 3 pickleball courts here and do 3 tennis courts? We'd have that place stacked every day.
yeah. Have you ever tried to reserve the courts up at the Center for Active Living? The tennis courts are open all the time for reservations. Pickleball, they're booked from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Yeah.
But it's not yet an MIA sport.
Yeah, being the key word.
And my son said he played pickleball as part of school activities back when he was in high school in the late 90s. So isn't it, it's been around for a long time.
So how
I
about-
didn't even know that.
How about the other items, the conversion of the workspace, the restoration of the baseball field, and the furniture? Furniture, obviously, whatever 75 grand buys, 75 grand buys, but do we have confidence in those numbers, or are those just rough estimates?
I have a number for the baseball field. It's between $35,000 and $50,000. I have to update that quote. I did that last year because I wanted to try and get away from the wing school and get all our stuff on our fields.
Okay.
So that's pretty good. The furniture, $75,000 doesn't buy you a lot. Every classroom's between $20,000 and $25,000. We've been at Oak Ridge. We did that pilot classroom, found out what they liked, and it's about between $20,000 and $27,000 per classroom.
So what are we looking for here? I mean,
I think, I don't think that this has to be something that is a formal vote, but I know you expressed, Kevin, kind of a desire, not to give you another meeting, but to kind of start at the capital planning committee level of having concrete estimates, or at least as close to it as possible, and kind of looking at these options. I do feel that security camera number is rock solid. Bryce has done his due diligence in connecting with the company. It's something that, again, is detailed in our capital plan. I think the planning for the Sandwich Partnership is a little bit, in my humble opinion, as a non-negotiable. It's something that's been hanging out there for quite some time. And we're in a situation now where Lauren Galvano has been using the Sandhill School. She's been informed that she can no longer have programming there because of concerns on the town side that it does not have appropriate facilities for toddlers and so on. So I think there needs to be a sense of urgency with regard to that project. So there you're already talking roughly $425,000. I think what we do is we do our due diligence as far as investigation of the tennis courts, and we also get updated bids for the baseball field. I've had numerous parents talk to me, but also even staff members, about the condition of that field, and that it's a shame, and it's a shame that that field, which used to be actively used and vibrant, particularly by our youth leagues in town, can no longer be used. So again, I see it as a win for the school district, but a win for our community, and then whatever's left over to go to more student furniture for Oak Ridge. So really just to kind of publicly put out their strategy, obviously report back to the committee at our next meeting on the 12th, but realize that's the day after my second presentation to the FinCom. And the FinCom has really focused on just capital needs for that second meeting. They sent a fairly comprehensive list of questions that they had, and I'm still working through, most of them I've completed, but I'm still working through because it's a lot of detailing of documentation of expenses and so on over the last 7 fiscal years.
Can we, you said you had very high confidence in the security camera estimate.
I do. I actually have the estimate.
Can we flesh out a little bit more specifically what tasks would be accomplished in some of these other projects? Because again, on the tennis courts, just 81,000 seems to be a pittance. And even the baseball field, what are we going to get for that? And I'm not so much thinking of myself, but as we articulate this to finance and whatnot, there's already a shaky confidence in our ability to come up with numbers. So the more context we can provide, I think is important.
I'd agree, yeah.
Okay, so we've got a plan.
Yeah.
All right, next item, public reaffirmation of school choice.
So again, this is as a standing item on our agenda, our calendar of events. And you technically, as I say in the background notes, you don't have to do this because the default position of school districts across the Commonwealth is that you will be a school choice district, and you actually have to take a vote and have a cogent rationale if you choose not to be a school choice district. Many moons ago, when I was principal of Mansfield High School, during that era, the school committee actually took a vote not to be choice because they had a problem with overpopulation, overcrowding rather. So I just think it's a solid thing to do publicly. Again, statistically, we are in a favorable position. We accept this school year 135 students choice in and 60 choice out. So you've got a net positive of 75 students. We get approximately $5,000 per student in choice funds. So that is funding, as we talk about during the budget deliberations, that offsets some salaries in the operational budget, but also helps us with technology expenditures.
So is that directly applied to our budget then? That school choice money, it doesn't go to the general fund?
It's a
Revolving
revolver.
account.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't they cost you more than they bring in?
So that's a great question, Bert. That's why you've got to be smart and strategic about your ratio and how many you bring in, because you could be in a situation where you bring in too many students and, you know the statistics. It's something like $24,000 per student is our per pupil expenditure. That's why when we have a choice lottery, you're strategic in looking at grade level, how many kids you have at a given grade level, how many teachers. So if it's a situation where, say, my average class size is 17, and I've got 5 sections at that grade level, I can comfortably go up to like 19, and it's not going to make a difference. So that would mean, okay, 5 plus 2 additional per class, I could easily at that grade level take in 10 students. So our principals, you know, when we have our lottery and we make decisions about that, they look at it strategically.
So cheaper by the dozen, but not by the 2 dozen.
Exactly.
Because it's in the margin. You've already paid for the classroom, you've already paid for the teacher.
Correct. And realize, you know, we're very fortunate, you know, this came up during the data presentation, that we have that ratio. There are some school districts where it's flipped, where there's many more kids choicing out than are choicing in, and that actually becomes a line item in your budget that you have to pay out for choicing out. There are districts on the Cape that have a $2 or $3 million line item just for choice out.
The $5,000, I've seen that number since I've been on the committee, which is like 4 years ago.
It's horrible.
One, I agree, it's right, but is that changed at all? Is it adjusted for inflation? Does it change, or is it just a flat fee that's never changed since whatever?
2007.
Yeah, it's a flat fee, but if it's a special education child that comes into the district, we can also do it, what they call a special ed increment, where we put down all the extra expenditures for that child's education, and then we get reimbursed dollar per dollar.
Who sets this? Is it just Mass General Law? Is it legislature? Is there a way to, you know, is this something we should have mentioned to the legislative breakfast?
D, all of the above, yeah, it is set by Mass General Law.
But it's not even remotely on their radar.
I mean, if it's $20,000, a typical per student expenditure.
When they set the 5,000, the average per pupil was probably closer to about 14 or 15.
Okay.
So that's how long it's been in place.
Okay.
This comes up through the Superintendent's Association all of the time.
Does someone want to make a motion to the effect of the school committee reaffirming Sandwich as a school choice district?
Make a motion to affirm the Sandwich school system as a public affirmation of school choice. Got it out.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Kevin. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 500, unanimous. It's great for those kiddos that are coming into our district. Because they go to their hometown and say how wonderful it is. So that's a good thing. All right, other topics not reasonably anticipated of the chair. I don't have any. Subcommittee reports? No subcommittee reports?
Christine's not here, but we have not had a policy subcommittee meeting, but we probably need to have one before the election to kind of clean up the things we have in place with her as chair, and then look to start anew on what's left.
That makes sense.
I would agree.
I will reach out to her.
Her last duties is, she's so good at it.
Can't leave yet. But we've actually made a lot of progress. I mean, but when we started it, we knew it was going to be multi-year, but we just need to close the loop, and so we don't have to. We can start on a fresh section with whatever that new subcommittee looks like.
Liaison and advisory committee reports? Do you have some?
Yep, the CPAC Special Ed Parent Advisory Council, we met last night via Zoom, and it was great. Dr. Marushchak was there, BJ McNamara was there. We went over just some general topics about extended school year, what that's going to look like for special ed students. We reviewed the co-teaching and inclusive practices, the new diploma requirements with the competency determination, which we spoke about a few weeks ago when BJ was here, and the new parent portal access and the way that we are able to access IEPs and forms for our children, any reports, progress reports. And then we did the focus group for the strategic plan. So we as a group, went over the questions, and I think there was some really valuable feedback. It was very productive. So, always looking for more attendance from parents. All are welcome. So we had maybe 12 last night. It was good. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything to report on? I do have a report from the Cape Cod Collaborative, and it's very difficult for me to attend meetings because they often are on the same schedule as we are. But a major item of business has taken place over the last few weeks, whereas the Articles of Agreement for the Cape Cod Collaborative needed to be revised because there was a nomination of Plymouth District to join the collaborative. And whenever a change is made, then DESI has to have the opportunity for a full review of the Articles of Agreement. And so tonight, at our meeting tonight, we voted, number one, to approve Plymouth to come into the Cape Cod collaboration, and they are actually thrilled to be able to join. And secondly, an approval of the revised Article of Agreement, which includes Plymouth as a member and a number of really non-substantive changes to the document recommended by DESI based on the statute that really kind of clean up language and delete things that aren't current anymore. The next, which we voted to accept all of that as a Cape Cod Collaborative Board of Directors. Next steps is we need to put that approval on the agenda of hopefully our next meeting so that you will receive in beforehand a copy of the Articles of Agreement, a copy of the recommended changes that DESI made, and then we'll have to have a motion to approve the Articles of Agreement as revised here, and then the chair signs that document and it goes back to the collaborative. So you will get all the documents. It will be an item on the agenda and we will need to vote on it
So we vote as Sandwich as a member of the collaborative.
as a member of the.
Almost like we do with the mask resolutions, only this matters.
Yeah.
And just a side comment, the new director of the collaborative, Hope Hansen, has hit the ground running, and she has dived right into the whole process. So nice working with her. Anything else for subcommittee liaisons? Okay, next item is approval of the warrants.
I move that we approve the warrants as presented and signed by a majority of the school committee.
Second, any further discussion? All in favor of approving the warrants, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous, 500. And that brings us to the next public forum. Does anybody wish to be heard? Mr. Holden?
She's got your address.
Good evening. Charlie Holden, 35 Lakeview Drive, and the liaison from the Select Board to this committee. It's always great to see you folks. I'd just like to make 3 quick comments. The strategic planning has been going, in my estimation, great. A large group, an exciting cross-section of people, and in my opinion, progress. Looking forward to the next meeting. The, where was I? Oh, the mid-cycle improvement plan. Great report, much appreciated, fine job, as I want to say always. Now, capital. There is an urgency
Yep.
to get these needs out to the other boards. You're going to do FinCom, and we need, let me repeat, urgent list. This urgent list needs to be quantified.
Yep.
And you can't use the tennis court. I just can't, I'm sorry, wrap my head around that. And the lighting on the baseball field we knew about, but a deterioration of the playing fields and the surfaces and et cetera, we've got to get, if I can suggest, we've got to get an investigation out there and determine a list of needs.
I couldn't agree more.
The public needs to know this.
And again, there's the long-term piece, but there's the short-term. And I appreciate tremendously you saying that, Charlie, as far as the FY26 and getting this nailed down post-haste with very, very specific quantities and numbers and estimates. My feeling very strongly in dealing with your board and the other boards, there is a level of support that's very, very high. I found that very, very strongly on a personal level, but also representing this district. But there also has to be appropriate backup, and that's exactly what we'll be doing post-haste.
Great. And so sometimes addressing the short-term needs make for better PR than a game plan that's 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
People want to see action, and my mother's been telling me this for 58 years. Sometimes the littlest things make the biggest difference, to your point.
Thank you.
Definitely.
And thank you all. Good evening.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you very much, Charlie. Future agenda items, before you give me any more, we have 3 that are pretty big on the list already. One is the weighted GPA issue, the other is the Golden Apple Awards, and then we need to do a follow-up with our Student Advisory Committee. On the weighted GPA, I have this sense that that's a big piece, and that perhaps a workshop would be better suited where we can focus and get input from administrators and whatnot, see what other institutions are doing, look at the data, look at what's happening in the area of this right now. So we need to get these on the books and fit them into the agenda. I don't know if one of these, if weighted GPA might lend itself to our summer workshops, since we're not going to change a whole lot for next year, or maybe there is more urgency to it. Give some direction. So I just put that out there, and I'd love to hear your responses.
I've got another one that will be coming forward. We do have resolution on the bus contract, so we will have a concise presentation and a vote for our next 5 years of transportation. There will be a follow-up with regard to the FY26 capital project request. Probably at some point, and I'm not necessarily proposing this for March 12th, there have been some initial conversations, and I know that something languished for quite some time as far as the talk around doing a solar canopy at the high school, and I think there were some regulatory issues, and Eversource realized there are some private companies that would love to do business with us, and one of which who has done the canopy both at Four Seas and Upper Cape Tech has approached us with a design for the middle high school. So I think that bringing that to the fore, again, it does not have to be March 12th, but in the near future would serve us well, particularly with our community becoming having the green community designation.
I would just, going back to the GPA 1 month you mentioned, Sue, personally, I'd rather see that sooner rather than later. Maybe it's something we could do, and you know, I don't think there's so many different ways to, you know, it's basically math, really what ratio and what scale they want to use, and the benchmark out. I've had some conversations with the principal on that back and forth, and with the soup. But you know, we could do it as a first reading where we have the discussion, and then we kind of agreement. We come back and do a final reading. I have gotten input from multiple parents in the community that they would like to see a change as well. So personally, I'd rather see that if we could do that in March, or no later than before April break, for implementation into next year would be my preference.
So it would be helpful to have some discussion prior to looking at a proposal to provide some context.
Okay.
And then we could do it for first and second reading.
And did Jeannie say tonight that was going to be in the handbook changes? Was that what she was, did we discuss that quickly? So,
To Kevin's
That would be
point,
soon, yeah.
seeing it earlier, we typically do the handbook change
Yeah.
presentations
June?
in May.
May, okay.
So, you know, we could still do that in May, but maybe having the discussion earlier.
Earlier than that. Yeah, yeah.
The
So then
full-
if we
full
approve it.
handbook.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, it really comes down to what ratio then you use for the various scales and things like that. I know most colleges converted to their scale, but, you know, and all Mass State colleges in the University of Massachusetts system use a specific scale. So maybe that's the answer, maybe it's not, but, you know, I know they've been meeting about that, you know, including with the I'm going to get the name wrong, but the School Advisory Council, right? Is it the School Council with the parents?
Correct.
I know that's been a topic of discussion at their meetings as well, so.
One comment on that too. I think, Sue, to your point, the more background information we can have on that and different perspectives, I'd like to have like a deeper dive as far as information. That would be great. But sooner than later, I agree.
And, you know, this is for, and there's some interesting research that talks about weighted GPAs, time in terms of grade, class rank, and the research really talks about first year college performance. There are a lot of other factors that figure into the last 3 years, or 6 years, or 8 years, however long it takes. So, yeah, but we need to get moving on it, so let's get the ball rolling.
Thank you.
All right, well, we've got, in addition to our regular standing agenda, we've got some major work to do in the next few months.
We do.
Exciting. It's good. Let's see, what do we have?
Just one alibi on that, sorry. I will work with the superintendent to reach out to our School Committee Advisory Council, see if there's a good date that would work for them. Maybe we do it on an off night, or maybe we do it at like a 4:30 meet. We meet for an hour, and then we can all scoot down here. But and maybe they're fine coming back here. I do like the idea of going to them, though. We'll figure it out, and we can send something out where we can align calendars, so it's not
Sure.
that's not deliberative.
That's
So.
great. All right, acknowledgements and closing remarks. Danielle? Kevin?
for it.
Tracy? So Danielle, you're up first.
Well, first of all, it's tournament time for our Sandwich Middle High School athletics, and I stole your thunder. I totally did. I'll just do the few, and you can do a few too. We're fortunate that we have the girls hockey playing this Thursday night against Melrose at Gallo at 5:10, and the boys hockey is versus Greenfield at 7 at Gallo. So I want to wish them luck, and I also want to wish Friday, February 28th. Our wrestler, senior Luke Steele, is competing at the All-States at Methuen High School at 2:30, and I'll let Kevin do the last
No,
one.
you're on a roll. I got something else. You keep going.
Okay. And our girls varsity basketball team are playing at Hanover Friday night at 6:30. So I just wanted to wish everyone the best of luck. We're very proud of you. Thank you.
It is indeed tourney time, and in fact, this weekend is also for the younger youth level is the 40th Marsh Madness Youth Basketball Tournament that's put on by Sandwich Youth Basketball with the great support of Sandwich Schools, because we use every gym, or they use every gym. It begins tomorrow night at all 3 gyms, and there'd be nothing better than to have to adjust the schedule on Saturday morning so the girls can practice. But we'll see how it goes. But you're going to have 50-plus teams from all around as far away as Springfield. Gonna be here all weekend, so if you're out at a local restaurant, you may see a bunch of kids. If you grab a pizza somewhere, you may see a bunch of kids in their basketball uniform having a slice. So
Is it at the Cal, too? Are there
no,
games?
it's at Oak Ridge, Forestdale, and the high school.
Okay.
For people that don't have kids directly in sports, there was an interesting commentary on Chronicle last night on the kind of the growth of youth traveling type of things and its impact on local school teams.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a fair amount of travelers among our athletics, but it does not appear to have had a negative impact on our high school teams.
Our
Sure.
teams, yeah.
It should be
That was a great piece. I watched that, too.
Yeah.
That was good.
And just, I have something, just on the Enterprise, and it's featuring our young journalists at Oak Ridge. I know Shreya talked about it, but if you haven't seen the broadside or haven't seen the piece and read the stories, these are really bright, interesting students who are writing well. So it was kind of fun. Anything else? Yep, Tracy?
Just a thank you to all the community members, parents that have been coming to the conversations. The conversation I was in last night, it was so refreshing, and to hear parents talking about not only their own perspective, but what they want for other people's children to experience in the district. So just another thank you to all the people attending and to keep giving us your feedback.
I just have one quick recognition, and I don't mean to embarrass him, but I had the opportunity, along with Jeannie Nelson, Mr. Fisher, who still, in his heart of heart, is a teacher, presented to, correct me if I'm wrong, Bert, they were the personal finance classes, correct? I'm pretty sure they were personal
I don't know what they were
finance.
entitled, but-
And Jeannie and I were doing walkthroughs, so we stopped in and I stole a couple of these pictures. But those of you may or may not know this, he has quite an extensive history in the stock market. So he kind of shared with the students his, very candidly, his experiences with some tremendous gains, a couple clunkers too, some real losses. But I think it was a real terrific, authentic learning opportunity for our kids. So I just want to acknowledge you, Bert, and thank you for doing that. That was terrific.
Different than 5th grade, I will tell you.
Absolutely. A different ballgame.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
More importantly, I'll make that motion. I'll move that we adjourn until our next scheduled meeting of Wednesday, March 12th, 2025, here at 6 p.m. at Town Hall.
And that's a significant date from 5 years ago. Anybody remember it?
You're wrong. It was March 13th.
13th.
Friday the 13th, a day that will forever live in infamy.
I was at Penn d'Avignon that night.
Really?
We'll need a second.
Second.
Bert's second. We're making Lisa's job.
All in favor, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 500. Good evening and thank you.